Aloha everyone, we are back with the 7th series. We interviewed for you surf legend, world champion, surf photographers, shapers, and many more. We hope you like the series, and please stay tuned for more amazing news. Mahalo! Hello everyone, and welcome to the 17th episode of the Temple of Surf, the podcast. Today with us from Portugal is the videographer Eduardo Vento. We discuss with him about video making, surfboards, and much more. Hello, Eduardo. Welcome to the show. Where are you today?
So at the moment, I'm based in Portugal, and it's very bad weather today. There's a storm hitting us at the moment.
It's not a bad thing for the people in Nazaré that they want to go to surf big wave, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I think for the next 2 days is going to be a good day for that because, today it's a bit impossible. It was meant to be like massive and, a day to surf, but it's just out of control. I think tomorrow and maybe on Saturday in my work. So it's crazy. It's really like stormy and everywhere. Like on the coastline, you see waves and you can hear it from far away. So,
well, we'll see what the weather report will say and the waves report will say and will show us in the next days. So today we're going to talk about many things. We're going to talk about video making. That is not something that we talk every day on the podcast, but nevertheless, it's very, very interesting. And but the first question I ask everybody on this show is, in your opinion, what is the most important thing in surfing?
In surfing, I think one of the most important things is to have fun. I think it's a moment to be present as well. So, just to enjoy your surrounding, in this case, like all the nature that's around you. So, I would say that's my biggest advice is to really have fun and enjoy the presence there.
And you, when you started to surf, because I guess like a lot of people ask you about photography or videography, but surf?
Surfing started when I was very young. My first meeting with surfing was when I was around 10 years old. My dad, he showed me, he had this old short board that he kept it for a long time. And my family is actually from Brazil. So they bought this from Rio. Like, this is a very old school board that I, first time remember going to Guincho, which is a beach close by where I grew up as well. It's in the area of Cascais in Portugal. And that was really like the first time that I get involved with surfing. So my dad brought me there and literally started pushing me on these waves. And it was this big, massive, chunky board at the time. But I just remember like just the feeling of the first wave, and there was the click there. Like from there, I was like on.
Because I guess it helps in your work, to understand surfing, to be a surfer, right?
Yeah, like I think it's very important to have at least a notion of how things work in the sea, like because at the end of the day, you have to know how to access the right position of the wave. So you're in the right moment that the surfer can perform and do the maneuver, as well as for yourself to navigate inside there. So I think it's very important to have the notion so you can profit more. Again, it is possible to be inside there, and I know many people who don't surf and actually shoot in the water, but for me, I think it was really the joint of these two passions of filmmaking and surfing in one middle term. So I would say like it's very important.
We all know more or less the perspective that we have as surfers down the lip of the wave and surfing. But how is the perspective from your side? I guess totally different if you are in the water shooting, right?
Yeah, it's always super exciting, especially because for me, I always try to go and shoot the kind of seas that I struggle normally to surf. So it's really like that limit of comfort zone. It's really pushing it to the next level. and to see other surfers performing on those waves, for me, it's a learning curve as well. But at the same time, yeah, it's a spectator view right there. Like I get super entertained like every time just watching that. Normally, especially when the wave is big and barreling, like it's that perspective for me. It's insane. Like watching that, it's yeah, I
Yeah, you're
love it.
like on the first row, right? So you can enjoy what not even the people. I mean, on the TV can enjoy. It's the best experience. But I guess it's also dangerous, no? Because you know those waves are kind of big ones, so they're closing on you as well, right?
Yeah, it is a struggle, and it can get very tricky sometimes. Like I do have some stories already on the back, like with some, let's say, scary moments. But at the end of the day, if you prepare yourself and have the right mindset, I think to be inside there, you can minimize like this dangers. But still, it is, I would say, the trickiest parts always, apart from rips, because for me, I think that's really the biggest struggles are always rips. It's really the coming in and coming out of the sea, which sometimes sounds a bit silly, but I think it's for me the trickiest, because I have all my gear with me, and normally most of the good places here in Portugal, they are bays with rocks basically, and the access in can get tricky, because you go in between the waves and the rocks, and that's, I would say, the trickiest part of all, because once you access the right point, to shoot, then I think, in my head, I switch off and I'm fully embracing the whole thing and completely on the area there, like just enjoying. But the in and out is always that tricky. Of course, if there are seas where I have jet skis or support, then things gets easier. But yeah, that's another story.
How heavy is your equipment? Because you know, like okay, you have the camera housing.
Altogether, I'd say it's around 8 kilos. It's around that. Like it floats, so it kind of helps me when I go inside of the water and sometimes pull up. I think that the biggest struggle really is the fact that it gets attached to one of my wrists, and I just have one arm to paddle, and that one is impossible with 10 kilos. Even if I want to give one paddle with that arm, it's not recommended.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he also, when you get the camera out of the water as well, like that would say, like that's the hard part also, like lifting when you have, because it has two handles, one on each side, and you have to kind of pull it up out of the water sometimes and follow, and when the wave passes by, you just follow the surfer down there. So I think that's the trickiest.
Yeah, so we should say like it's not easy job, right? It requires a lot of preparation, physical, mental, right?
Yeah, I think like the surfers, like to be shooting in the water, like you have to prepare yourself always, like, because you know it is challenging, like physically, like, because a lot of times, like when it's good, especially, the surfers want to go 2 to 3 hours or more depending on the sessions and where you're at. So that it demands a lot of endurance. So yeah, there has to be a lot of preparation for myself. Like I do a lot of physical training, like just try to be always on the rhythm. I surf a lot as well. It's one of my biggest trainings to really continue understanding the whole thing, and I really like it. So it's easy for me to be inside the water and practice that. And at the same time, also something that I started doing a lot recently is two things, which is yoga, which kind of balances all the physical and pushing when I go shooting, and at the same time helping me to control my head, like on the most tension, more tense moments. And for this also, I do some apnea training, and on the apnea trainings, that's really where I learn how to deal with the fear factor, so I don't get panic moments, because of course there's always going to be moments that I get hit and I the adrenaline kicks in, like your instincts just go in, like you start kind of be a little bit stressed. So it's good to kind of it's silly to say, a lot of people say, but it is a fact that it is a lot on your head, not just on physical. It's a lot on your head. Like if you can not panic, that's halfway.
At the beginning, I asked you what was the most important thing in surfing, but what is the most important thing in your job, like in video making?
I think, that's a hard question. On my area, like when coming, to water cinematography, I would say to really enjoy the topic that is in front of your lens, or at least try to find that, thing that you love capturing. Like, because for me, like, I find it so entertaining at the same time that I'm working a lot of times. And again, it's hard for me to call it work, because it's really a passion. I shoot a lot of other things outside of the water, like I work in other environments. So I'd say really to try always to find one place of passion to shoot. And for me, it's to shoot in the water, basically.
Okay. But in today's kind of social media driven world, like there is a lot of creation of content. In effect, there is too much. Everybody is like going and create content. Some of them are professional content. Some of them are like amateur. How I would have asked the same question to a photographer, how are you able to produce something that stands out is universe?
It is a challenge nowadays, and I see a lot of photographers and cinematographers, like all the filmmakers, kind of struggling nowadays because a lot of people have access to phones and even just lower budget cameras, which you can do amazing work with it. So a lot of content has been produced recently, and I think it becomes a big challenge to first, like do something different. And then even though like to do something that captures people's attention nowadays, the key for that, I wish I would know, like it would be amazing to have the answer. But what I try to do always is just to, again, like focus on something that you like and you understand somehow, to capture that. And while doing so, you can join a bit of both knowledges, basically. So really record and capture that moment with your vision, and not just because a lot of times what I see what's happening is that people just, because they have access, and instead of just taking one image and shooting one scene, they are shooting a lot of stuff, and end up with, with the digital technology nowadays, it's so easy to end up with so much content. And if you can try to kind of step back a little bit and try to focus on what you really want to shoot, and try to be there as much as you can when you're shooting, and really think, okay, this is what I want to, when you press record, you say, okay, this is what I want to send to people, what I want to express to people while shooting this. And it's hard to,
yes.
to say that.
And today, what was the best? Let's say the best video, the best scene that you say that is the most representative of your work until today?
Yeah, there's little that I would say really that I would say 100% proud and crazy about it, but there is like, and one of them, because I'm very exigent with myself as well. Like I'm always looking for that shot, that moment. But one simple one that I'm proud and I'm very happy to have been in that moment, and I worked a lot to be there, was recently in Nazaré 2 weeks ago. I shot this sequence, which was for me very representative of all my path as a water cinematographer to that point. And it was a wave of Lucas Shumbu, where he comes like on the first wave. And then right after it, like I haven't stopped recording. I just turn and there's Sebastian coming on the wave behind it. And it's a very simple, like it's just two waves, one after another. But I think the way I capture it and the way I put it out, like I put a very iconic soundtrack as well, like the one from Hans Zimmer from Interstellar, the cornfield one. And I think, like, which is a pretty famous song, but I think all of that together, when I played the soundtrack and I've watched those waves and I've watched it on the big screen after, for me was really like, okay, I'm proud of it. This is my work. This is how I see things. And yeah, before that, yeah, there's a couple of other videos and things that I can talk about, but that was the most emblematic recently. They're still fresh in my head.
And in your work, of course, you are alone and kind of solitary, right? Because you are in the middle of the sea by yourself. But as you said, you get to see the performance of amazing surfers and also known or not known. Until today, was there a meeting with one of those surfers that was particularly important for you? I mean, I guess you meet them outside the water, right? So, was there a meeting particularly meaningful for you?
There were some. But I'm gonna be honest. Like a lot of times, there's the celebration moments, like lunches or the breakfast before as well. Like, it's always a moment to connect and to share ideas. And where I can recall many moments, it's hard to just pick one. If I had to pick one, okay, if I had to really pick one moment, was really after a crazy session with Tori Meister. He's a Hawaiian guy that came over to Portugal. He comes over to Portugal to surf here. And he goes out to this crazy wave called Cave. So cave. And this wave is a slab wave. It's a very tricky wave here in Portugal. And outside of the context of the water, like we just had like a very sick session. And then after, outside in the water, to hear from him, like we were just sitting down and having a lunch after, and yeah, just remembering all this crazy session where he absolutely shredded. Like, it was insane to shoot him like on that sesh. And yeah, just to be outside of the water and listen from him, like saying that it was very inspiring for him to see me going in this water with him, and he's super happy to have me around on a sea like that. That was very empowering and very rewarding. That was a very rewarding thing to listen from such a professional guy. And yeah, a person like him, he's a very good guy as well. So to hear that outside of the water really, got me energy to kind of get me going. So yeah, that was one of the most recent moments also that I can recall.
Yeah, because you both need each other. Like you need them to create your art, but also they need you to be featured in social media or in videos and so it's more connection there is, more understanding there is, better your position can be, to in the waves, and better outcome of your work can be.
100%.
Okay, cool. That was interesting. Are you currently because I've seen in your Instagram, okay, like short movies, okay, but are you working on big length full movies or no?
I'm looking into that. I've done few until now, like kind of like documentary style, like that I directed, and I want to get more and more into this because I have, like all my background and most of my work is going a lot on commercial and promotional side of things. But I've been looking to a couple like that I want to produce in the future. One of them that was done now 1 year ago was actually 2 years now, was in São Tomé and Príncipe. Is a short documentary about a project that now it's ongoing and it's going super well. It's called Soma, and it's about empowering women through surf, basically, in São Tomé, which is this island next to Africa. used to be an ex-colony of Portugal, so they still have they still speak Portuguese as well. And we went there for it is a project raised and created by Francisca Sequeira, and yeah, we went in that time to kind of capture the first steps of this surf school being open. So basically, was all the surfers, all the guys from the community from São Tomé, getting the opportunity to teach the girls how to surf, and for some of them to surf really for the first time, to really go in the sea and everything. So it was pretty amazing to be around a project like that with such a positive impact. And it's amazing to look at where it is right now. Since that day, like it's pretty crazy. They've been doing an amazing job. So that was something that I like to share between others that I've shot in the past, but are still on the ongoing process.
So a very meaningful one, right? And that's what stays in the memory, and also stays in the memory of the people that were there as well. Those girls, they know that was their first experience, and you were there to shoot it. So it was very meaningful. And for the future, what are you planning?
For the future, I am always going to be chasing like the best swells wherever I can. Like I'll try to be there, especially in Nazaré, something that I would like to explore more, to get involved with some projects there as well. I hope to have more chances to go and shoot inside there, and at the same time, more than that, to really produce something that could be, with surf filmmaking, what I always focus on is to not just show the art in itself as it is, but also to tell a story with it. So really to tell the story of the person that it's being showcased, or the meaning that surf is for that person, between other topics that I always try to find interesting characters that can, just tell a story in front of the lens. So yeah, I'm still chasing that. I'm really looking to see if I can find some cool projects in that area. And yeah, other than that, really like see if there's other opportunities to explore outside of Portugal, which I've done in the past. But for this year, I've been very focused here. So I think, for 2023 is really to look into traveling and getting to know more people, to see if there's any other interesting stories to tell around the world, basically.
Nice. And you said something I think very interesting, like in a world, as we said before, a lot of videos in social media, us as human, we like human stories, when you are among friends and somebody has a funny story or any story, everybody's very interested, right? And the small talk, we can equiparate that with just a normal video. But when you have a story, then everybody is interested, and you grab the attention. So if you can tell those stories about people and surfers, then I think people can relate more than just like beautiful videos. So I think it's very relevant to what you have. So my best wishes for that. And yes, so we arrived to the last 6 questions we ask everybody on the show. So the first one, answer please. Whatever comes to your mind, the best surfboard that you ever ridden.
Best surfboard I ever ridden, I'd say Cement.
Who's your favorite shaper, if you have one?
That's a good question. I think Nick from Cement, like he's really a very good shaper. He's based in Ericeira, and has a lot of years shaping, and I really like his work. And again, like he shaped like some of my magic boards as well, like that I really, because he shapes right in Ericeira, and he understands the waves around the coast really well, and trying them and surfing with that shaped boards from him, it's amazing. I feel really connected, and I would say this is really like my shaper, like in head, like to go for.
Personal question, your favorite song?
My favorite song. I have many soundtracks and songs that I listen to. It depends on the moods, but if I had to go for one, is the It's called UA from My Life Be Like, basically.
Okay. I'll listen. Favorite surf spot?
My favorite surf spot. So surf spot is Quincho. Quincho Beach is really like where I grew up. Basically, it's I would say my favorite one.
Favorite surfer of all time?
Favorite surfer of all time. It's a hard one, but since my childhood, I think a very big inspiration is Mick Fanning.
Oh, okay. I thought you were selecting some Brazilians since there are so many super strong. But good choice. Nick Fanning is a great choice. And the last question is a little bit unusual. We ask everybody on the show. We want to know your best relationship advice.
So my best relationship advice, it can be in general, right? Like any person that
friendship can be any kind of.
I think a very important thing is to surround yourself with people that inspire you, like, and that you truly like and find something that could add up to your daily life. I'd say that's really what I would try to recommend to anyone, to try to surround yourself with inspiring people on your relationships.
Fantastic. So, Eduardo, obrigado, right? Thank you.
Muito obrigado.
Mucho obrigado or muy obrigado? How do you say?
Muito obrigado. You can say obrigado or muito obrigado. Like, muito obrigado is thank you very much, basically.
So thank you very much for being on the show with me today. And I look forward to talk to you very soon.
Thank you, Alessandro. We speak soon. Thank you so much for your time.
Ciao. Take care. Hi, it's me again. I hope you enjoyed our today's episode. If you want to know more about us, please follow www.thetempleofsurf.com and all our social media. Mahalo!